Let's start our first news with Ian Gary receiving a warning ahead of his highly anticipated fight against Islam Makhachev at UFC 330. Not everyone is convinced that Ian Gary is simply going to get run over by Islam, despite the predictions coming from many fans and analysts. However, Chris Weidman and Dustin Poirier recently explained why they believe Gary could be in for a very rough night when the two fighters finally meet on August 15th. Speaking about the matchup on the latest episode of Deep Waters on Paramount+, Weidman explained why he thinks Gary could struggle against Islam. According to Weidman, the biggest problem will be the constant threat of the takedown. He believes Gary won't be able to fight as comfortably as he normally does. Knowing that Islam is so dangerous on the ground could force Gary to hesitate, especially when it comes to throwing his best combinations. And that's not all. Weidman also pointed out that Islam can throw hard shots on the feet, meaning Gary can't simply focus on defending takedowns. Dustin Poirier quickly agreed with Weidman's assessment. Having personally shared the octagon with Islam, Poirier knows exactly how much that wrestling threat can change a fighter's entire approach. Poirier explained that when he fought Islam, he didn't want to commit too heavily to his punches because he was always worried about having his legs grabbed. That forced him to fight differently. And according to Poirier, the same thing could happen to Gary. Even if Gary is considered the more dangerous striker, the constant fear of being taken down could make him tentative. He may not throw the same shots, combinations, or counters that he normally would. That could become a major problem, because against someone as skilled as Islam, even the smallest hesitation can completely change the outcome of a fight. Move on to another news, as Arman versus Charles Oliveira appears to be leaked for UFC 331. As the MMA community waits for the next major fight announcement in the lightweight division, reports are now suggesting that Arman could be set for a highly anticipated rematch against Charles Oliveira. There has still been no major update on Ilya beyond reports that he could potentially return around December, while Justin Gaethje has indicated that he may sit out for the remainder of the year. With those developments, attention has started shifting toward a potential matchup between Arman and Oliveira. The rumors gained even more momentum after UFC executive Hunter Campbell reportedly met with Arman during UFC Abu Dhabi Fight Week. Now, it appears that something may have been finalized behind the scenes. According to Ring Magazine's Manuk Akopian, multiple sources have informed him that the rematch between Arman and Charles Oliveira has been finalized for September 19th at UFC 331. The event is reportedly scheduled to take place at the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. Akopian also reported that an official announcement revealing the full fight card and ticket information is expected to come directly from the UFC. At the time of the report, the UFC had not officially confirmed the matchup. However, the timing certainly appears to make sense, especially with the lightweight division waiting for its next major showdown. One of the biggest questions surrounding the potential rematch is whether the BMF title will be on the line. There has been plenty of mixed reaction online regarding Oliveira holding the belt, but so far, there is no clear confirmation about whether it will be defended in this matchup. If the reports are accurate, fans could soon see Arman and Oliveira share the octagon once again, setting up a rematch with plenty of unfinished business. The two previously fought at UFC 300, where Arman secured a split decision victory over Oliveira. Move on to another news, as Sean Strickland is once again speaking out about the UFC's fighter pay situation, and this time, his comments are getting even more aggressive. As Strickland continues his second run as UFC middleweight champion, he remains one of the biggest names on the roster. But if anyone expected becoming champion again to turn him into a company man, they clearly don't know Strickland very well. For months, Strickland has been openly critical of the UFC's fighter pay structure. And during a recent interview with Sean Ryan, he delivered some of his strongest comments yet. Strickland argued that fighting can be an extremely difficult way to make a living, even for athletes competing inside the UFC. He pointed to fighters who are reportedly signed to contracts paying them $10,000 to show, and another $10,000 to win. That means a fighter could potentially make $20,000 if they win. But according to Strickland, Once you factor in management fees, taxes, training expenses, and other costs, the amount a fighter actually takes home can be significantly lower. And if that fighter loses, the situation becomes even worse. Strickland explained that a fighter could potentially walk away with only a fraction of the original purse after taxes and expenses. Then, if that athlete suffers an injury and is unable to compete for an extended period, they could suddenly find themselves without a regular source of income. That's why Strickland described the UFC's system as predatory, arguing that only the very top fighters are making truly significant money. He also made an interesting observation about international fighters. Strickland suggested that fighters coming from countries where the cost of living is lower can sometimes benefit more from the same contracts. What might seem like a relatively small amount in the United States could be life-changing money elsewhere. At the same time, there are arguments on the other side. Some people point out that UFC fighters generally earn more today than they did in previous eras. Others argue that, compared to boxing, UFC athletes can still earn respectable money even after suffering multiple losses. Still, Strickland's criticism highlights a long-running debate surrounding fighter compensation, especially for athletes who haven't yet reached championship-level status. And with Strickland now holding UFC gold again, his words carry even more weight. Whether the UFC responds directly remains to be seen, but his latest comments have once again put fighter pay firmly in the spotlight. Move on to another news, as Michael Morales appears to have his next UFC fight booked. The welterweight division could soon have another major matchup on the way, and Michael Morales may already know who he's fighting next. This comes shortly after a major update regarding Shavkat's future. We recently reported that Shavkat's physician, Dr. Mike Marwat, revealed that the undefeated welterweight contender is unlikely to return until the winter, potentially meaning the end of this year or even early next year. That timeline could have a big impact on what happens next in the division. Morales recently shared footage online of himself watching the highly anticipated matchup between Shavkat and Ian Gary. What caught the attention of fans was the fact that Morales appeared to zoom in on Shavkat's name during the video. Naturally, that immediately led to speculation that Morales could be targeting a fight against Shavkat. But there's one major problem. If Shavkat is potentially out until the winter, would Morales really be willing to wait that long for his next fight? It now appears that Morales already has other plans. A fan recently asked Morales directly whether he had a fight booked. Morales responded with a simple yes, immediately sending fans into speculation mode. While Morales didn't reveal the identity of his next opponent, his response strongly suggests that an announcement could be coming very soon. This also raises questions about what the UFC has planned for the talented welterweight contender. Morales has quickly established himself as one of the division's most dangerous young fighters, and keeping him active could be a priority for the promotion. If Shavkat isn't expected to return until the winter, the UFC may have decided not to keep Morales waiting on the sidelines. Instead, he could be matched with another ranked contender while the division continues to move forward. The timing also makes sense considering the growing competition at welterweight. With several top fighters looking for their next opportunity, Morales could be heading toward another major test that could potentially move him even closer to title contention. For now, the opponent remains unknown. But Morales has confirmed the most important part. His next fight is already booked. So, fans shouldn't have to wait much longer before the UFC officially reveals what's next for one of the welterweight division's most promising rising stars. Move on to another news, as Johnny Walker is now officially off the UFC Belgrade card. With the UFC's debut event in Belgrade just days away, reports have confirmed that Johnny Walker will no longer be competing at the event. According to a report from MMA Fighting's Damon Martin, the UFC was unable to find a replacement for Walker's original opponent, Aleksandar Rakic, who was forced to withdraw from the matchup last month due to an injury. With UFC Belgrade taking place this Saturday and no replacement opponent being announced, the news isn't exactly a huge surprise. However, it is still a disappointing development for both Walker and the event itself. Walker was expected to make his heavyweight debut on the card, giving fans an opportunity to see how the powerful Brazilian would perform after moving up in weight. His removal now means the event has lost another established name from its lineup. For Walker, the situation is especially frustrating. After preparing for a heavyweight appearance, he will now have to wait for another opportunity to step inside the octagon. The timing is also unfortunate because the event is so close, leaving very little time for the UFC to put together a suitable replacement matchup. The Belgrade card has already experienced several changes, and losing Walker this close to fight night is another major setback for the promotion. Walker has been one of the UFC's most recognizable light heavyweight fighters over the years, known for his explosive power and highlight reel knockouts. His move to heavyweight was expected to create plenty of excitement, especially given his aggressive fighting style and ability to end fights with a single shot. Unfortunately, fans will now have to wait longer to see that heavyweight debut. And this is not the first major name that the Belgrade event has lost during the build-up. The card has already gone through multiple changes, making the final lineup look very different from what fans initially expected. With the event now just days away, the UFC will have to move forward without Walker. While the promotion has managed to keep the card together despite several setbacks, losing an established name like Walker is still a significant blow. For now, Johnny Walker is officially out of UFC Belgrade, and his long-awaited heavyweight debut will have to wait for another night. Move on to another news, as Merab has revealed that he was dealing with a knee injury during his rematch against Petr Yan. It's safe to say that plenty of fans were surprised when Petr Yan defeated Merab in their rematch last December. Now, as the MMA world waits to see whether the two fighters will eventually complete their trilogy, Merab has revealed a major detail about what happened behind the scenes. During a recent lie detector test for Aviator Scrims, Merab was asked whether he had ever hidden an injury so that a fight could still go ahead. He admitted that he had, and then provided more context about both of his fights against Yan. Merab explained that during their first fight, he suffered a broken bone, but according to him, he was also dealing with a knee injury before their second matchup. He revealed that a UFC doctor contacted him and told him that he had the option to withdraw from the fight. However, Merab asked the doctor not to reveal the injury publicly, and he decided to continue competing. That means, according to Merab, he was injured in both fights against Yan. Of course, some fans may point out that Merab defeated Yan in their first meeting despite fighting with a broken hand, so the knee injury shouldn't automatically be used as an excuse for the rematch loss. However, if Merab was dealing with a significant knee problem, it could potentially explain why his wrestling wasn't as effective as usual. In their first fight, Merab managed to take Yan down an incredible 11 times. But during the rematch, his takedown success was noticeably different. At the same time, there is another side to the story. Some fans will argue that Yan simply improved, entered the rematch with a better game plan, and performed at a higher level. Whatever the case may be, Merab's latest revelation adds another interesting layer to one of the most talked about matchups in the division. Move on to another news, as Chris Weidman believes Magomed Ankalaev could be a bad matchup for Alex Pereira. Weidman recently explained why he believes Ankalaev's performance showed exactly why so many people thought he would be a difficult opponent for Pereira. According to Weidman, Ankalaev's performance was not simply about his opponent making mistakes. Instead, he believes Ankalaev demonstrated the exact skill set that could create serious problems for Pereira, especially over the course of a 5-round fight. Weidman argued that Ankalaev dominated the fight in almost every area. While he acknowledged that fighters need to pace themselves during the opening rounds of a 5-round contest, he was impressed by the way Ankalaev controlled the action and maintained his performance throughout the fight. One of the biggest things Weidman highlighted was Ankalaev's wrestling. He pointed out that this was one of the first times in a long time that fans had seen Ankalaev rely heavily on his wrestling. And according to Weidman, that was exactly what many people wanted to see from him when he faced Pereira. The argument is simple. Pereira is one of the most dangerous strikers in the sport, possessing devastating power and the ability to change a fight with a single shot. But against an opponent who can consistently threaten him with takedowns and control him on the ground, his striking advantage could potentially become much less effective. That's why Weidman believes Ankalaev's recent performance was so significant. He wasn't simply winning with one particular weapon. He was showing that he could use his wrestling, control the pace, and dominate in multiple areas of the fight. For Pereira, that's exactly the kind of style that could create major problems. Whether Ankalaev would be able to execute the same strategy against Pereira is another matter, but Weidman's point is clear. The wrestling-heavy approach is precisely what many expected to see from Ankalaev in a matchup against Pereira.